Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. I'm your host, Jerred Moon. The Garage Gym Athlete Podcast is a result of my desire to build better humans, unequivocal coaches, and autonomous athletes. I've spent the last several years obsessing over program design, nutrition, and every other way you can optimize human performance. This podcast distills the latest scientific research with what I've learned and blends it with the not-so-scientific field of mental toughness. We are here to build you into a dangerously effective athlete. If you enjoy this podcast, you can find out more about our training at garagegymathlete.com. And if you want to pursue more into the field of coaching and programming, head to endof3fitness.com. Thanks for listening. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jerred Moon here with everyone. What's up, everyone?
Hola.
Hola.
Sucks to not be one of us four because they're not everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're
All
in
right.
the cool group.
We need to work on our intro. Should we just we're gonna start practicing in our
Let's
weekly
take
meeting.
this from the top.
Yeah.
It's not obvious. I don't have a human interaction on the regular.
Yeah.
Poor Joe. His social
You
skills are
you
going
need
down.
people to bounce the jokes off of before you just go straight into a live recording with them. Okay, Joe, how's life, man? Speaking of no human interaction, how are things?
Depends. How often can I tell you guys it's getting hotter here?
I
so I
want to
just-
hear it
You've
every
reached your
time.
limit.
No,
Should I just wait until like it's triple digits? Because it's probably gonna be next week.
I want to know when it hits the peak temp, and then when it kind of just not changing anymore, then I don't want to hear about it anymore.
Actually, this week, even though the temperatures like probably went up a couple of degrees, I think I'm just regulating better, and because it doesn't feel as miserable. But I was, still covered in sweat and super hot, and half-mile runs were still interesting.
How was your zone 2 run? Did you do one last week?
Yes, I did. I did it the day we recorded, so it was the same where I said that my mile time is an entire minute slower than it was over the winter when I was doing it consistently. And then tomorrow I'll do it again, which will probably be the same. It'll be a couple of degrees warmer, but yeah.
And you're on that Murph burner, right?
Yes, I am. And
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. I got to be honest, I'm failing at the week 2 challenge. I have my notepad here for my push-up grids, and it sits there.
Explain the challenge for us who are not.
Yeah, I was getting there. I didn't remember what it was called. Every day we're supposed to do a push-up grid on top of the training. And day 1, completely forgot about it. Day 2, I made one. It was on my desk right in front of me. Didn't complete it. I left 3 blocks missing, and I'm just past halfway today. But it's just on this Post-it note that sits right in front of my desk. But that's just like a blind spot right there. And I was like ahead of the game yesterday. I get it all but 3. I was like, cool. I'm ahead of the game. It's like 12:30, and it just didn't happen.
Well, I would say finishing the push-up grid is not near as important as doing the push-up grid, because any effort towards the completion is better than none at all, right? Like I write a push-up grid most days, like in my planner, and like when I do it, and some days I fill up the whole thing, and then some days I do like 5 or 6 of the little blanks, and it's not finished, but it's still, that was an extra 110 push-ups for the day or something, so it's still good.
Yeah, definitely anything will help, because that first Murph practice round last Saturday or Friday, whatever, it didn't go well. Did not go well. I also realized that I didn't all of last week up until doing Murph practice, I had an extra plate in my vest the entire time.
That's great. That's good. That's that is cheating right there.
Yeah, there it is. That's cheating. I'm a cheater.
That is cheating based off of last week's conversation.
My goodness.
Yeah.
Yep.
How did you have an extra plate in your vest and you not know it?
Because I put it in there I forget what reason I did it, but I put it in there, and you just don't know when it's not.
Probably just storage. You're like, where else is this going to go?
Basically, or I think
I feel like it would come out more. You have the Condor, yeah?
Yeah, it's only a little bit. It was a thin one. It's like a 5-pound plate, not the 10 or whatever.
Oh, it's a fractional plate.
Yeah, basically. But I was wondering why during a couple of the warm-ups, my vest was shifting backwards. I was like, man, this thing is weird. I don't want to take it any tighter. I'm not going to be able to breathe.
We already talked about that.
Yeah.
How to breathe.
Yeah, that's right. I actually practiced that, and it kind of worked.
Yeah, there we go.
But the way you described it was weird. You were like, take a deep breath in, expand your lungs, and then breathe. How am I supposed to expand my lungs?
Diaphragm. Your diaphragm.
Yeah. So
belly breath, chest breath. That's
I tested it out on when we had the 200-meter lunges because it was hot and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to expand this and cool. All right. I guess it worked a little bit.
There you go.
Look like
all right, Kyle. What you got?
Oh, I get to go. Okay, cool.
Yes, Kyle.
How many times do I get to mention that I have a bunch of house projects to do?
It's still painting cabinets?
Yeah, we're at the limit for me. I don't know.
Not on the cabinets.
One
doing
is enough.
walls now, but
onto the hardware on the cabinets.
There's more than just painting though. Like there's outdoor stuff that I have to do now and stuff like that too. But then there's flooring that I have to put down, all that. But anyway,
like
it's taking forever.
Renovating your entire house.
Slowly, one step at a time.
Yeah. So maybe by this time next year, I'll be in a new house. We'll see.
Well, either way, you will be.
I was going to say
you're making your current house new.
That's true. That's true. By the way, anyway, that's my life. House projects. That's it.
That's why you're dominating audiobooks right now.
Yes, I am. I'm cranking through them like crazy. So
you know what? I probably when I moved, which is a lot of times, I probably crush 15 audiobooks in the process of moving. When I'm packing boxes or like loading a truck or whatever. Yeah, it's just an audiobook the whole time.
It's a good call.
Just crushing them. All right, Ashley. Your turn.
I said this is the week of doctor appointments for me. I've got like 3 of them, but yeah, doing some more tests. Doing another ultrasound, seeing how things are going. So hoping it's moving in the right direction, and I'll keep you guys updated on that. But a more like current event update. If you've kept up with the gas and the pipeline stuff that's happened over here on like the East Coast. Oh, well, I don't know.
No,
Anyways,
no idea.
No idea. So
is it not about aerobic capacity and mitochondrial efficiency? I'm not
negative. Sure. Okay. Anyways, so there's gas issues going on, and so people are freaking out. It's like the apocalypse has happened and people are lining up for gas stations, like hurricane is coming, and so like gas stations are running out of gas. So like Navarre, a town in Florida here in the Panhandle, like has no gas whatsoever. People from Pensacola are coming all the way to Crestview to try to get gas.
Why don't you just get a Tesla then? Problem solved.
Okay. Anyways, shell out a couple $1,000s to solve your issue.
Yeah.
But anyways, so people are freaking out, and it just cracks me up when, you know, the news posts something and then it makes people panic, and then everybody, you know, goes and stocks up like it was for the toilet paper and the paper towels last year. You know, now it's, you know, the gas stuff. So now people are like, I need all the gas. Anyways, so
I still don't get why it was toilet paper. I don't get that. Why was that the thing?
You would run out of something. That's probably going to be high on the list of something you don't want to run out of.
I mean, but you could have hopped in your shower. You could, anyways, there's so many other different things.
You could use the 3 seashells.
Yes. That meme, absolutely. Man, I was all over that when this whole the paper pandemic went down.
Actually, you don't get that one?
No.
Okay.
I don't. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I was like, you could use a washcloth and just wash it. You could have. People were like buying baby wipes. So then I didn't have wipes to wipe Connor's bottom with, which was fine. I mean, you just make it work. But I don't know. People were, anyways, whatever. People panic. All right, Jerred, you go.
So the 3 seashells reference is from, is it Demolition Man?
Demolition Man.
Yes. And
he doesn't even know how to use the 3 seashells.
Yeah, that's what's great about it. He gets unfrozen from the past, and so he was like frozen.
Oh, is this with Brandon Fraser or whatever?
No, that's Encino Man. How dare you confuse that?
Okay.
This is why we don't talk about books or movies.
Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes.
Anyway, the best part about it is he's like, hey, there was no toilet paper in the bathroom, and they're like, you don't know how to use the 3 seashells, but they never explain how that works.
Nope.
And that's the best part of the whole thing, is that we've just been left to guess for 25 years whenever that movie came
there's
out.
Actually an explanation online.
Yeah, I'm sure some people have concocted
the movie
a theory.
Doesn't explain it,
but
right.
It's not explained in the movie. But what's awesome about that is my brother, ever since he's had his own place, has always had 3 seashells on the top of his toilet.
Oh
That's
my
like-
gosh.
for
That's
for
That is
decades now.
amazing.
It's just
I love that.
yeah.
Right.
So
Well,
anyway,
guess I got to watch
Lots-
a new movie this weekend with Scott.
Lots of cool points. And it was also a perfect movie because they high-fived and they didn't touch hands, like for the
oh yeah.
pandemic, not supposed to touch hands.
And now that's happening for real. They are onto something.
Demolition Man.
Okay, so my update. I only have one. One. I didn't do a Garage Gym Athlete shout out or anything like that because we just don't have a lot to shout out anymore. So we'll get back to that after I reach out to people in the group because most events have passed since we last asked for shout outs and everything. So we will get back to that eventually. Murph, a fundraiser still going on. Go to garagegymathlete.com/Murph, or you can just go to garagegymathlete.com, click that yellow banner at the top. If it is the month of May when you're listening to this, and you'll be taken to all the awesome Murph stuff. Last I checked, we're at close to $25,000 raised for the Murph project, which is awesome. And like I said, I'd be super transparent with that. And I'll give a full breakdown once we conclude this month. But so far, it's going really well. Also, last I checked, Chris Morgan is like a baker's dozen plus 7 Murphs in to the project. So that's quite a bit of
Roundabout
Murphs.
way to say 20.
20 Murphs and the oh gosh.
Okay.
I couldn't keep a straight pace and pull it off, but I
This
tried.
one's going well.
Yeah, I tried. Anyway, Murph or Morgan is crushing Murph, which is awesome. Now, as far as personal updates, the only one I had is I'm about ready to take the training wheels off of my training. So I've been following BCT in a modified fashion. So all the running I haven't been running. I've either been on an erg of some sort, to be honest. I've either been rowing, ski erg more recently, or bike erg. That's how I've been doing all of the interval stuff, which doesn't make you better at running. I've learned this lesson over and over again. So I'm going to step back on the track and be very upset. And also when squatting, I just haven't been going heavy. I haven't been pushing the upper percentages that are prescribed. But anyway, my back, I think, is probably at 95%. Still feels a little weird some days, but I'm going to try getting back into the training in the next week or two. And then like at fully prescribed running, back squatting. And if all goes well and I feel good, let's go. Let's see what happens. If I injure myself again or things start progressing in a negative way, I'll probably be done with this attempt and move on to something else. So that's where I'm at. But I'm at least ready to get my hat back in the ring.
Well, keep us updated.
Will do. All right, let's get into this study. Cool name. Not really. Histamine H1 and H2 receptors are essential transducers of the integrative exercise training response in humans. This was done this year. Yeah, 2021. So I'm just going to give the breakdown of this and why I thought it was interesting more so than all the details of the study. Because again, I think you guys did a phenomenal job on the breakdown and I'll talk about some of those things as well. But big picture, antihistamines, allergy medications, something a lot of people take. A lot of people take them for seasonal allergies. Some people take them year round. But what this study did was take a look at high doses of these antihistamines and what it does to your body, specifically its response to exercise. And if you have the least bit interest in this stuff, look up the study. We'll have it linked in the show notes because we're not going to be able to cover it all. But when you look at the full text, which is free, and it's up in the upper right-hand corner when you click on the abstract, the full text is there and you can read everything. But if you get down to the results and you actually look at the ridiculous things that histamine or antihistamines blunted, as far as your response to exercise, it was incredible. We're talking about your resting heart rate, how well you recovered in between bouts of exercise. Some things weren't as crazy, but most things were. And overall, it seems like if you are taking a lot of antihistamines for some reason, it's going to be bad. You're not going to see as many results as you would like from exercise. And who wants to do that? Who wants to put in all this work, especially people in our community? Because, yeah, some of us want to lose weight, we want to look a certain way, but ultimately we're chasing performance gains, and we have people chase performance gains because we feel like it's better intrinsic value that will lead to better aesthetic improvements. But anyway, I would be so mad if I was taking large doses of antihistamines and I just for some reason couldn't get any faster, or I felt like I couldn't get stronger or whatever. And it was all because I'm taking medicine that ultimately blocks me seeing results. And it's crazy. And I've only heard about this in one other regard, and it's vitamin C, specifically antioxidants. If you're taking too much vitamin C, too many antioxidants, it does the same thing with endurance exercise. Like your body needs this reaction. It needs to have this like super compensation. You need to go screw things up and let your body heal from it to see benefits from exercise. And when you're taking all these things like either ibuprofen or vitamin C or antihistamines, you're not letting your body go through that natural process. And so that's why I wanted to cover it. We can get into a lot more of the details, but I just want to talk about why I thought it was so important to cover, because I can guarantee so many people listening to this right now are taking antihistamines. And the only other clarification I wanted to make was it said H1 and H2 is what they were blocking. Typically, you're only taking one of those unless you do have some sort of crazy severe allergy. I don't know everything about allergy medications, but I know that certain ones are just an H1 and certain ones are just an H2. And so the chances of you taking both, like I said, you'd have to have some severe allergies, taking multiple antihistamines for different reasons. And we can get into all this, but what do you guys think about the study?
So I was in the 75% of this podcast that found this an interesting study. There were two different kinds of groups or studies. It was almost like two completely separate studies that they performed. They did an acute test and a chronic test. So two different types of testing and fitness, which was really cool. The acute one was biking intervals. They did max effort and certain intensity intervals, measuring pre and post. They measured blood flow and heart rate. And then the chronic study was 6 weeks of cycling. They did a max and a sub max effort with 20. The chronic or the acute had 8 people, chronic had 20 people. And in the chronic, they adjusted the intensity after 3 weeks. And in that one, they took muscle biopsies. So they measured a whole bunch of stuff, and a lot of the data and all of the charts, I didn't quite understand all of them, but one of them looked good and one of them didn't look so good. That's what I got out of it.
I couldn't blow them up big enough. I didn't know if you guys
Yeah.
had that problem. I clicked on the images and like I was having to like squint and look, but that's the takeaway I got was I could kind of see which one was the placebo group and which one was the block group, and I was like, okay, yep, that looks bad. This looks good, but I couldn't zoom into the numbers like I'm normally able to. So I don't know if they just uploaded some crappy images or what. But.
Yeah, that's kind of basically what I got to. So yeah, everything they measured was really cool, and how in depth they went to see that like these antihistamines are affecting your performance, and that people with chronic allergies might want to beware a little bit from this. And as Jerred was saying, that the inflammation effect is what we are is a desired effect. It's kind of like when we talked about this last year at some point when we were looking into recovery, how an ice bath is a good thing to do because it lowers inflammation, but you're not going to want to do an ice bath every single day because the inflammation is deliberate. That's what that's how you get better as well. So there's some other things that I found was pretty cool that I'll probably mention after everybody else goes, but it found that the histamines affected the aerobic, glycemic, and vascular flow of all of these athletes, that's 3 different phases. That's pretty tremendous how much it is impacting. I will say that it was kind of funny reading the comments section of the Instagram post that we looked at for this. One person commented and was like, well, I'd rather take my histamines and go for a run versus sit at home, not take one and do nothing. And at first I just kind of rolled my eyes, and then I was like, well, yeah, I guess that's probably true. And well, if you need these to work out, then doing something is better than nothing, but it's good to find other ways around that. But yeah, I'll get into some other things after everybody else goes. So Ashley, what you got?
Yeah, so again, Jerred, I think touched on some of mine, and so did you, Joe. So I'm just going to keep moving through. But the thing that was very interesting to me was the recovery time that they tested like this kind of separately from the rest of the like the biking and whatever that they did. And the capacity to recover between the placebo group, so the people that didn't take the antihistamines versus the block group is what they called the other group, was significant. Like the people who didn't take the medication was able to recover faster than the people who were taking the medication. And then Jerred touched on the average heart rate too, and that to me was huge. Like if your average heart rate is not able to decrease, what's happening, I don't know, to your body, like not just working out, like if you are just have a higher heart rate, like what's going on in your body. So it just seems that they're blocking the benefits of the exercise, right? Exactly what it says. So my overall takeaway on this is just be cautious if you have allergies, especially seasonal allergies. My husband deals with it a lot, and so I provided kind of like more natural remedies for allergies. Again, I'm no doctor, so go talk to your doctor if you want, but here's a few things that we've used and has worked for our family. And so I said upping water consumption. I talked about detoxification. So things that are causing inflammation in your body that could potentially hurt you because you are already dealing with more inflammation because of allergies. So like staying away from fried foods, from sugar, from alcohol, things like that. Talked about air filters. Buy the good quality air filters that block the allergens in your house. Like they're going to be more expensive, but this is something that you can do to help prevent stuff, especially the air you're breathing, the circulating air. And I just vacuum like 2 to 3 times a week when something like seasonal allergies hits, or even like a weather change for Scott, because Scott just gets super sensitive to that kind of stuff. A chiropractor. I've heard chiropractic work can help with allergies. It just releases stress on your nervous system and can be super beneficial to your immune system, which is great. And then I said I use like a essential oil blend that I like to diffuse throughout in the house, and I just do it all day long. I just do equal parts of lemon, peppermint, and lavender. And you can even use this topically if you want with a carrier oil. Just make sure you're not like directly putting it on your skin. But that has seemed to help. And then last but not least, it's super weird. Y'all have all heard of saline rinses, like neti pots and stuff, but there is this thing called a garlic rinse. And you literally take garlic with boiling water and you put it in the strainer, and basically the hot water like strains the garlic into like your neti pot, or like the little, what do you call it? Just like a water thing that you can flush out your system with. That's not a neti pot necessarily.
Mhm.
Anyways, it works. Like Scott swears by this, and it's just, you get like a lot of mucus buildup with allergies, right? So then that can sometimes form into fungus, and garlic is very antifungal, which I guess you could just add to your diet too, but this seems to work best too. So yeah, just some home remedies that I just decided to kind of provide just in case if you want to look into doing that before you start taking allergy meds.
So just like sitting a garlic clove in your nose isn't gonna cut it.
No, and I mean, it specifically says like don't do just raw garlic in your nose. And obviously, if you're going to boil water, bring it down to room temperature. All these.
She said put
The
boiling water in my
McDonald's-
nose.
That is
like the
not what I
McDonald's
said.
cup thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So disclaimer: don't burn your sinuses. Anyways, all right, Kyle, you can go.
So Joe touched on basically the only 3 points that I pulled away and was going to mention, but he didn't go deep into them, so that's good. The one of the biggest ones was reduced muscle perfusion, which is just means blood flow to your muscles. Obviously, blood flow to your muscles being reduced is not good for your training adaptations. We talk about this. We've talked about it recently on the podcast about stretching versus or at least static stretching versus dynamic stretching, things like that. How, especially when you're recovering from exercise, what you need is blood flow to your muscles. You don't need to sit around and be sore and not move. What you need to do is move, get your muscles moving, get blood flow into them so that you can recover from your exercise and maximize those training adaptations. So the antihistamines were lowering blood flow to muscles, which is not good. So that's one big negative impact of it. the medications also seem to lower insulin sensitivity, and insulin is basically the vehicle that your body uses to deliver glucose to your muscles and to your organs so that they can use it as fuel. And so lowering your insulin sensitivity, definitely not good. So reduced blood flow, reduced insulin sensitivity. And also one of the biggest ones was it seemed to have a big negative impact on submaximal efforts. And submax effort is the bulk of our training, and it should be the bulk of your training as well. You shouldn't be going all out, shouldn't be going pedal to the metal, shouldn't be going max effort all the time. You need to be mixing in a lot of submax efforts. And it seemed to have the biggest impact on that. And so reduced blood flow to muscles, lowered insulin sensitivity, big negative impact on the submaximal efforts, all things that you don't need happening in your training. And so those are the biggest things that I pulled away from it. And I also said, instead of taking, these medications, kind of like what Ashley said, try to find ways to manage your allergies instead of taking these medications. Now, this is not something that I can speak to. I mean, I have seasonal allergies too, but I spend like a day or two, with nasal congestion, and then it goes away all by itself. I don't take any medication for it. I just kind of ride it out, and then it goes away. And so I don't know what it's like to have to take medication or to feel like you have to take medication, especially for chronic allergies. I've never had chronic allergies before, so I don't really know what that's like. But it seems to me, based on this study, like, especially if you're going to be trying to train and improve your aerobic capacity, improve your strength, all those kinds of things, like these things are definitely going to block your progress. And so find ways to manage those allergies besides taking this medication all the time. That's all I've got.
So I do have one kind of anecdotal thing from that. I used to have the worst allergies on the planet. I mean, it's really funny. And I'm talking about from probably high school through, I don't know, college, early Air Force career. I'd have really, really bad allergies. And I got tested once, an allergy test where they prick you with all these different things that you're allergic to. And the woman started laughing. She was like, looks like you're allergic to Texas, because like all the things that I was allergic to were just like, they're like Texas specific, like the grasses and the weeds and stuff. And I was like, well, that's good. So anyway, I had such severe allergies that like I would be out for a day. Like there would be no recovering from it. Like my body's response would be so bad. Like I couldn't work out. I couldn't do anything. So that's where I'm coming from. And to now, I don't really take allergy medication. I do have some just in case, because I can't afford one of those days. I'm always like scared of that, like coming back, but they haven't come back. And the only thing I can attribute it to, because I had already cleaned up my diet and stuff and was eating more paleo-ish and exercising, but intermittent fasting. I started intermittent fasting. And really since then, I haven't had a single bad allergy like attack, if you want to call it an attack, because I used to get maybe 1 to 2 of those per year when it'd be allergy season, and now that never happens. I do get a response, like kind of like Kyle. It's like a very mild thing, maybe some watery eyes, nothing too major. But intermittent fasting, I don't know if that was the actual answer, but I actually didn't even realize it. It had just been like I went through like 1 or 2 allergy seasons, and I didn't buy any allergy medication. I was like, what happened? Like, what did my body just actually get used to it? And the reason I don't think it was just exposure is because I'd lived in Texas for 15 years already before that and always had a problem, So it wasn't like my body just finally, okay, now we'll get used to these weeds that you're super allergic to. So it had to have been something like that helped me. But so just another trick, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But I had really bad allergies for a long time.
Yeah, I've never actually had any kind of allergies really. It's just like very mild things. If I'm in a specific situation, then I'll get it a little bit. And coming from Maryland, that's a place where when pollen season happens, it's like yellow snow all over your car, like crazy. So I think one of the things that I noted and that you guys touched on is reducing inflammation all throughout the body. I think would make a huge difference. We talk about with diet and nutrition. If you have a bad diet, it causes inflammation in your gut, and that could cause aches and pains other places, and symptoms of sorts could be in the form of allergies if you are more sensitive to those. So reducing inflammation is one thing that I put on as a note that if you want to reduce your antihistamine dosage, then
Consumption.
get really, really clean. Yeah. There, what was it? One thing that I don't know if anybody else touched on, but the doses in the study were actually 2 to 3 times normal or high doses than normal. So there's like 3 different medicines that they gave, and like one of them they gave like 500 milligrams, but a normal dose is like 125 milligrams. So that's something to be of note to a certain degree. But I have a feeling if people have allergies are pretty awful to have. So you might just take it until you feel better. So that's
that's not how I work with medicine, but you're right. Some people, some people might do that.
Look, I'm saying I never take medicine, but when I get sick, all bets are off.
Yeah,
there
you go.
Yep.
I only get so like actually sick like once every 2 years. But when that happens, it's like, okay, Mucinex, okay, Flonase, okay, NyQuil, and I'm done.
I don't want to feel any of this.
I don't want to I'm a big baby. I'm done.
I took this 5 minutes ago and nothing happened. I need more. It's not working.
I do think that's the biggest takeaway. People should also antihistamines might, or I mean, according to this study, they do block your results from exercise, and that's not good. But also, you don't typically, like I said, block H1 and H2 at the same time. And so unless you're taking multiple different type of antihistamines, I'd look up and see if it's an H1 or an H2. And then, dosage. If you're taking a small dose, so I think if you're probably taking 1 Claritin a day, you're probably fine. But you're not going to, I don't think that it'll be as blunted to the level that it was in the study, obviously, because it's just a much smaller dosage. But something is probably still happening. They didn't test that, but something is probably still happening. So just know that it could be hurting some of your results, but probably not to the extreme level of this study to where people exercised and basically saw no results, which is crazy. And then another thing, what I do use if I have allergies is Flonase, which is a steroid. It's not even an H1 or H2 blocker. So I'm not promoting Flonase, obviously not a sponsor. There are a lot of negatives to steroids in general. That's why I use it super sparingly. Like if I am having what's going to seem like a bad day, I would use Flonase. So there are other options, but every single thing that you take in this world, it comes with a downside, whether it's a supplement, whether it's a medication. There's going to be, I'm going to take this at the expense of what? I'm going to take this and it's perfectly harmless. There's always going to be an issue. I'd love to know what Benadryl does, because I know a lot of people take Benadryl and it's supposed to be super safe. There's like not a lethal dose and but I bet it's probably pretty powerful antihistamine. Maybe it's both. Maybe that's the H1 and H2. I don't even know. I didn't look at all of them. I tried to before we started, but I was like, there are so many medical names and they didn't want to give like Benadryl is a product name, right? It's not an actual the name of the antihistamine. So I was like, I'm not gonna do all this.
That's when you go to the store, you see Benadryl, and then you see the other pink one. That's the store brand, and you just grab that.
Wait,
yeah.
I mean, I know people who just take it just to knock themselves out to go to sleep. Like,
oh, that's good.
Not even for. So, I mean, again,
people, if that's you listening, I take some melatonin instead. Like if I as opposed to an antihistamine, or just be healthy and clean up every other aspect of your life, which is the harder route, but I know that's not what people want to hear.
Or just contact us for some down regulation practices. We've got you.
Heal 3 elements.
2 other last tidbits that I have, something that I came across while looking at the study that I guess some people use. Since I've never had allergies, I never had to find the solution. But, and when I Googled it, there's mixed reviews, I don't know how much it actually works, but apparently a lot of people use their local honey because it's made from their local flowers, their local pollen. And if you take some, like a tablespoon or something every day of your locally sourced, like good honey, then it will help build a little bit of a tolerance to the pollen. So maybe you won't have as bad of a reaction. It's not going to cure your allergies, but it might help a little bit.
You can also
that sugar will kill you.
Anyway, you can also take bee pollen for that too, as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this last one, this is just completely semi-related, is something that Liz found recently. And it's funny because she's listening to Coddling of the American Mind, and it reminded me of the peanut study in there. But apparently there's a product that she found on Instagram that is called Spoonful 1 that you give kids. And it's basically a spoonful of allergies that makes them tolerant to allergy, to common allergy things. So it gives them such a small little bit of a dose that they drink, and it makes them a little bit of tolerance slowly over time.
So
And
like,
that's
And
what
that was
sorry.
I was going to, when I was getting the allergy testing, that's what that's for. They test you on all these different types of allergies, and then they find out what you're allergic to. They make a special concoction for you specifically, and then you go once a month and you get these shots, and you're just being injected with the things that you are allergic to. So kind of like a vaccine, right? But yeah, it's like this low dose of over and over again. And my insurance wouldn't cover it at the time, so I ended up not doing it because it was going to be like $1,000 a shot or something like that. I'm like, I'm all right. It's just it's like a runny nose. So anyway, you can go get that done, and that's the same thing. They're just giving you a low dose until your body gives up and is like, all right, cool, we're good with it.
Yeah, that was a pretty interesting product. But that's all I got.
Awesome. Let's get into the topic. Trigger words. Speaking of coddling of the American mind, I don't know if we have time. Like, should we just skip to the workout? Like,
Whoa!
All right, we're going over trigger words just for some fun. Just for fun. My trigger word is CrossFit. Does anyone else want to go? I'm kidding. We'll
And then everybody else just turn this off because that was a trigger word for this.
yeah.
Everybody's triggered now.
So what are the trigger words for the team? What bothers you guys?
I want Kyle to go first.
I do too.
Okay. So I put in my notes.
You
Apparently,
got like whole sentences.
Apparently, I need to say this. Yeah, that I'm more triggered by people's actions than I am by their words. That words don't typically bother me that much. I actually had an issue like coming up with something to say for this topic because I have a lot more like pet peeves and things like that annoy me that are actions that people do versus things that people say. Things that people say just don't really bother me that much. So I don't have time to cover all the actions that bother me. So we're not gonna talk about that. But most of that is probably just annoying, petty things that are my problem and not society's problem. But I frame it in my head.
Peeves are and trigger words. They're
I frame it in my head as society's problem, not mine. Anyway, so I came up with this when people ask, how did you lose weight? So Hannah and I were actually talking about this recently. A lot of people have been, giving Hannah a lot of compliments recently and, just complimenting her progress and asking her how she did it. And it's just really, really simple. You eat better and you exercise. And we kind of talked about that, about how that conversation is typically really short when people ask that, because when they hear that it's clean up your diet and exercise on a regular basis, then they're not really interested anymore. Like they really just, they want the quick fix. Like, what's the one or two word thing that, oh, I did keto. Okay, I'll go do keto. You know what I mean? Or whatever.
Or take Plexus or take some pill. Yeah.
Yeah. Here's my multi-level marketing thing that I do.
So the trigger action here is the fact that they're immediately turned off by your response to a question they asked. Or is it the fact that they're just asking you the question? I
guess it's, this
is what I couldn't wrap my head around.
I know. Well, but that's the thing, is that it's not really triggering to me. It doesn't really like actually bother me that that's their thing, but it's just something that I've just noticed, that it's like people ask. It's like something that I notice now when they ask, oh, how did you do it? It's like, oh, here we go. You know what I mean? It's like, this is going to be a really short conversation because they don't actually want to know. Like, I would love to talk to you about it. I would love to tell you like the things that I did. And like, I would love to like jump in and help you and all that kind of stuff and give you some tips on how to do it.
So it's their response. Cause if I was like, hey, how'd you lose the weight? And you were telling me, and I was like getting out a notepad and I was like, great, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. You'd be all about that conversation. But if I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. Is there anyone else here I can talk to?
Yeah. And then, they just kind of walk away. I'm like, okay, that was a total waste of time.
Got it.
But
anyway. Okay.
So that's kind of, but most people aren't actually interested in making changes. They're just kind of interested in just trying to make conversation, and they're not actually going to make any changes with it. So I guess that's, and then kind of coupled with that, it's like people just say, there's no way I could do that. That's typically part of that conversation is, well, there's no way I could build a gym at my house and work out every day, or there's no way I could give up Oreos every night.
Kyle, you need to
know
have
what I
more
mean?
fun with these conversations.
I know. I guess I do.
When people say stuff like that, you need to agree with them.
No, you're right. There's no way you could do it.
Yeah, like I do that with people sometimes. Like
with the
no
salt
way I
biscuit
could build
guy.
a
The salt
no way I
biscuit
could build
guy,
a
yeah.
gym in my garage. I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, probably not. It was really hard. And they're like, oh, you don't think I can do it? Just try it. Like,
Probably
just-
not.
you got to challenge them.
Yeah. Maybe I'll do that next time. I'll be like, yeah.
It makes you even like people don't like you very much after you do it a few times.
Yeah. So maybe I'll try that next time and
Yeah.
see if I can trigger somebody else with
Or
their,
say, do you really believe that? Like, act super surprised. You really believe you can't do that? Wow.
I have told people, I'm like, you'd be surprised what you can do. Like if you actually just try it, and they're just like, no, whatever. I'm like, okay, this
I love
conversation's
it.
over.
Those
Let's move
people
on.
annoy me as well. So I'm in agreement with you, but
Yeah.
I think if you're running into that often, you should really push people to their brink.
Yeah, I should just start having fun with people, just messing with them. I can do that. That'll make it better for me.
Yeah,
anyway.
there's no way you could do what I did, but someone
That'll
else
make
here
it better
maybe.
for me. So, I'm not gonna mention the other one I put.
You
That was just
have
kind
to.
of a joke.
That's what
I didn't even read it. So what is the other one?
The other one is when people
You
say
take it so
listening,
personal.
listening to a book is not considered reading. So,
Yeah.
it triggers
it's
Jerred
a-
too. It pisses him off every
it's
time I say
the
that.
it's the age old. I guess not age old, but it's a more recent. Since audiobooks are more popular, I guess it's a more recent thing.
Well,
but
that's not a
doesn't
triggering
really-
word. There's just a right and there's a wrong.
yeah,
So
that's my
Okay.
opinion as well. Like it doesn't trigger me. I'm just like, oh, you're one of those people. Okay, cool.
yeah.
Let's just move on. Anyway,
If you say weird things like I'm consuming knowledge, like people are just gonna be like
yeah,
weirdo.
I consumed the knowledge from this book. No, I read it. I read the book, even
Yeah.
though it was in audio form. I read the book. So anyway, we're split half and half, I think, on the team, whether listening is reading or not. But
I mean,
I guess
technically
that's-
the word reading, no, but
Yeah,
consuming
by
it counts
definition,
as-
there is a right answer, but I am corrected once a week on like, hey, I read that book. No, you didn't.
You listened to
Don't
it.
even pretend like you know what this book says. Well, I do
Hannah-
because I listened to it.
Hannah does it to me all the time. I'm like, well, I was reading this, but you mean you were listening to that book? I was like, okay, that's enough.
Well, you
just-
typically only get it from readers.
Yeah.
That's what I'm I'm looking at you guys.
Okay, we listen to books too, so that way we can knock out books of the month.
Look at this triggering discussion we've
I
created.
know, like
This
I
is-
didn't expect.
This
I
is a
didn't
great one.
expect us.
I
to
wasn't even on my
actually-
list, and I'm triggered right now. I want to shut the podcast off. Goodness.
I'm gonna go with Ashley. You can go
Okay.
next.
So I'll do 2 words and then I'll do 2 actions because you made me just think of my actions that I don't like it when people do. So sure, I hate the word sure. If I ask you to do something, I want you
This
to
is
tell
Jerred's.
me, no, this is mine. I brought it up last time.
I just agreed with her. I was like, yeah, it's not a great response to
No,
basically
So-
anything.
if I ask you something via text, via a phone call, face to face, you tell me yes or no. Because sure to me means, yeah, I'm going to do this, but I really don't want to do this. Like, it's just the worst response.
Passive aggressive at its finest.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. And one of my best friends always responds with the word sure just to piss me off. And it just makes me mad. You just wait. I hate that as well. Like, oh, just you wait. Like when I remember when I was pregnant and I would say something and then somebody would say, oh, just you wait. This is going to happen and blah, blah, blah. It just makes me feel like, I don't know, that they think that they know better than you do. And they're just going to, I don't know, that you're going to have the same problem that they did. And that's not necessarily true. So that is something that I've tried to not do for like, new couples getting into marriage or a new mama doing something or whatever. Like I try to avoid that. And like, I can't wait to see your experience of X, Y, and Z. So just you wait. I hate that.
Yeah.
I'm
Listen,
with
I
you
got
on
that
that
all
one.
the time about like kids. Like, oh, when you're married, all of a sudden, like, oh, when you're married, you're all of a sudden gonna want kids. Like, well, look at me now. It's been like 4 years.
Proving you people wrong.
Yeah, I'm just doing it to spite you now.
Yeah. And then 2 actions that I don't like. I hate it when people are late. I think it's rude. And if you tell me that you're going to be somewhere and I'm going to meet you somewhere, don't make me wait on you for 5 or 10 minutes. I know I just don't like it. My dad always said, if you're early, you're on time. And if you're on time, you're late. So it kind of bugs me a little bit when people are late to like things that we're hosting, or I don't know, or if I'm meeting somebody for lunch. And then I hate it when people flake out. It's not my favorite thing. I think most people do. But if you tell me you're going to do something and then cancel on me like 15 minutes before you're doing something, like, come on. Like, I don't even want to hang out anymore. So, yeah.
No,
That's something society has a real issue with now, is lack of commitment. Like, yeah, I'll go do this unless something better comes up, and then I'm going to bail
Tells
on you
me a
and go do
lot
that.
about somebody's
Yeah.
character too. Yeah.
I'm with you on that.
my brother has never been on time to anything since he left the military ever
no.
once. So I talked about my brother last week. So that was the introduction to my brother. And now I mentioned he's training with me a couple times a week, but I don't have time to like coach him. Like, I'm going to coach you for an hour and then I'm going to go train for an hour. Like, so I told him I'd kind of write the program, make sure he knows how to do the movements. And then like we're
does
just
his thing.
working out at the same time, basically, doing different things. But I'm in the middle of my workout when he shows up now. Be like, he's like, there's not even like a consistency in the lateness. Like, sometimes he's like 5 minutes late, sometimes he's 25 minutes late. It just, and there's never an excuse, and I don't even ask anymore, because it's been like, even if we're like, we went to my mom's house for Mother's Day on Mother's Day, and he's supposed to be there at 4:00, and it was like 4:37 when he shows up. I'm just like, I don't even, and it makes me mad every single time. But it's every single time, compounded over decades. So I don't know why it makes me mad, but it still does make me mad when people are late, because I don't think I'm late to anything ever.
Yeah. Or I try not to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Joe.
Yeah, this has turned into less trigger words, more of just
Yeah, it's
what
not
triggers
trigger
us
words.
in life, everything.
Yeah, everything
Well,
makes me mad. Let's talk about all of it. I'm
So I-
generally angry person.
I technically only had one. Only one jumped out at me, and it just right away, and it's always jumps out at me. And that is saying in moderation. Absolutely hate in moderation, because
Well,
it's
if
so
you use it in moderation, it's not.
not at all. Make me quit this podcast. It's the most subjective thing ever, and it can change as you can change what your moderation is. If you do something and it's you do it once every other week or every other weekend, then that becomes normal, and then in moderation could turn into every weekend, and then that becomes normal, and then in moderation could be once on Wednesdays and every other weekend. So you could still in moderation you could move the goalposts as much as you want, and it is ridiculous. So I just absolutely hate in moderation. And I'm sure at one point in time you could probably say cocaine or heroin's fine in moderation, but what's moderation? Like, it's not healthy. So in moderation is terrible. It's like a cop-out answer. It is the easiest way for you to just be like, oh, well, I'm just going to have this. It's just, this cake is just in moderation. It's fine. And then you just, every time you eat cake, it's in moderation. And it's like, well, is that moderation anymore? No, not really. And I just think it's an easy way for people to cop out, kind of, and just not be accountable, I guess, when it comes to the diet or anything.
So another one that you should try, when people, like I said to Kyle, when someone says that, you should say, I remembered when I lacked discipline. Just see how that goes. Yeah, just see how that goes.
Yeah.
So this is the strategy. Take our trigger words and come up with responses to trigger other people.
How to rebound trigger. How to rebound.
That's the game I play in conversation. It's like, how can I put this back on you somehow?
Yeah. Actually, I'm really surprised you didn't say this one, and that is the old with females, I don't want to get bulky. Like, that should be number one, tried and true. Like,
I don't think that triggers me. It just makes me roll my eyes. I don't know. I'm just like,
it's one of those conversations where you're just like, I don't have time for this. I don't have 3 hours of my day to waste on you right now.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong.
It's just way too much effort, and you're still just going to go look on Instagram and think I'm wrong anyway.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yeah, that one I guess speaks for
You're
itself.
still just gonna undereat and just run because that's all women do, right? So
Yeah.
okay, I'm triggered. Never mind, it worked.
It worked. We all
this
knew
is
the
great.
truth. We were just waiting.
I'm also just adopting all of yours. I'd never given this that much thought. And so everything you guys said, I'm now just adding to my,
Jared's trigger words just got 10x.
yeah.
Another one I guess would be a response when somebody would cite a documentary, like if they tell you something, they're citing a documentary.
I got it from What the Health.
Yeah. Anytime that. And then since you guys went kind of off the rails with yours, I just have to put out this one because it drives me absolutely crazy. And it's not even a trigger, it's a pronunciation, which you could also go down a rabbit hole to. But anytime somebody says espresso or especially, and they say espresso or especially, it's not a fucking X, it's an S. Okay. If you ask me for an espresso, I'm just going to get you a coffee really fast. It's espresso. Okay. Or especially, not especially. It's not, there's no X there. And that's all I got to say about that.
That's
You
amazing.
can tell that triggers me.
Hopefully there are lots of takeaways, the listeners
Yeah.
from today.
I can only imagine what the Facebook feed's going to be.
I'm trying to give everyone really good ways to have fun conversations. That's my ultimate takeaway.
Right,
So is it
Jared.
my turn now?
It's your turn.
So
now.
I put down one, and it is kind of a trigger word with me, and it's the word deserve. If you state that you deserve something, I'm gonna start asking you questions. I'm not gonna get mad. But
Why?
yeah, I'm like, oh, you deserve that, huh? Like me. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about why you deserve that, because I don't think that anybody deserves anything, and so that does trigger me quite a bit, and to the point where it's like it's a word that's like not even said in my house, and I don't make a big deal out of these things. Like, don't say that. It's not like that. It's just like people know my stance on it, and I will really, I do actually tackle it from like a therapist type situation. If someone says, I deserve this break or I deserve this thing, I'm like, okay, let's talk about why you think you deserve that, because you really don't deserve anything. And people's lives are so much harder than any one of us sitting here. Like this, what do you actually deserve? You haven't really been pushed to your limits if you think you deserve this piece of food, or you deserve this break, or you deserve this amount of money, or you deserve this amount of success. You don't deserve anything. You know, you're fortunate to have any of it. And so that is a trigger word for me. But it doesn't come up a lot anymore, really, at all. I don't hear people say it that much these days. But if you do, and sometimes I feel like I might agree with someone if I'm like, why do you think that you deserve that? And they give me a really good explanation. I'll be like, oh yeah, maybe you do deserve that. So sometimes I'm educated on why I think they might deserve something. And sometimes I agree with you, sometimes I don't. But that is probably my biggest one, other than CrossFit.
with all the coddling, I don't think anybody feels like they need to say they deserve anything. It's just
it's implied deserve, right?
Yeah. Entitled. That's what entitled is.
Yeah, it's an implied deserve. But no, CrossFit doesn't actually trigger me.
I think you get a lot of that from like motivational speakers and books and things like that. Like you deserve to be happy and have a great life and be wealthy and all those kinds of things. And I think that's where a lot of that comes from.
Yeah. And see, I agree. Do you deserve to be happy, or do you have the right to be happy? You know, those kind of things. Those are big questions, right? But I think, yeah, if you're willing to put in the work,
it's almost
but
a choice.
You can also put in a lot of work and not get the results you want.
Yeah.
So deserve is out of the question. You know, it's all you can do is the work and hope for the best. And that's I think in any endeavor, you can do all the work and still be wrong and still not get what you want. And just because you put in the wrong work for a long time does not mean you deserve the result that you wanted. It just means you did a lot of the wrong work for a very long time.
Yeah. And you can choose to be happy even in, you know, the wrong stuff that you did. It's a mindset. I don't know.
More stuff people don't want to hear.
I know.
And they're not listening to the podcast at this point.
They turned it off.
No, I think we're getting.
I'm not listening to those guys.
Spicy. They're like, oh wow, trigger words. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
Workout time.
Us two are.
Zone 2 Murph. Does it need to be briefed?
Not really, but
Okay.
I mean,
Cool.
do it.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
So it's just Murph, which is run a mile, 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 squats, run a mile, wear 20-pound vest. Is going to be debatable in this one. And it's zone 2, the heart rate, 60 to 70% of your max heart rate. And you have to maintain zone 2 the entire time.
I think zone 2 Murph is probably triggering for people.
Zone 2
It
doing it
is triggering.
Not wrong. The first time I did it triggered me real bad.
People get so angry.
Yes.
So
I
angry.
texted you.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tips, tricks, challenges.
Challenges. I'm excited.
What does everybody have?
Oh, challenge. I forgot about challenge.
Oh no. I said it's actually a meet yourself Saturday I can do, and this will be my Murph because I'm going to be gone for Memorial Day weekend. So this will be my Murph submission for the month. And one of the tips I got actually from Jerred after my first one, he asked me because he knows that I'm very I'm cadence. He said, "What were you listening to?" And I was like, "Oh, EDM." And he said, "How about you listen to a podcast or an audiobook?" And so the next time I did it, I did that and I almost made the time cap. I still haven't made the time cap, so that's my goal this time. And I've been doing a lot of zone 2 for the last couple months, so I'm hoping that it has helped and improved. And I said breathing. Your breathing helps you recover, so be smart about that. You can slow down your movements, but I wouldn't say stop. Like you can slow down, your air squats or your push-ups or your pull-ups. Also be smart. If you can't do pull-ups, obviously don't keep your pull-ups to, get out of zone 2 or whatnot, do inverted body rows, ring rows, whatever you need to do. But be mindful of your breathing, your breath work, because that can also affect your zone 2 and your heart rate. Those are my tips. I don't have any challenges. I'm going to leave that to Jerred. All right, Joe, your turn.
You actually almost said my challenge. So
Yeah. I was going to say, listen to something more calming, not just hardcore music. But something that I discovered is that the main thing that's going to jack up your heart rate is going to be the air squats, big time. So, and kipping pull-ups will also jack it up too some. So do your pull-ups as strict as possible for as long as you can. You can have a mini kip, but not butterfly. Push-ups, my heart rate went down on push-ups. So go down, do your push-ups as fast as possible to help your time, because your heart rate is probably going to drop somewhat then. And then do your squats not super fast, just like almost like a 2 or 3 second cadence or something. Because once you spike up, you're just going to be sitting there waiting. So try and just do like a 3 second or like a squat, pause, breath, squat, pause, breath, and then maybe you can keep up that for longer. But know when to on those things is basically do those push-ups fast, pull-ups as strict as possible for as long as you can, and then don't go ham on the squats because that's going to jack your heart rate up.
One thing, ladies, I forgot to say, it's not a 20-pound vest for you. It's 14, I believe. That's
whatever you want it to be.
No.
But there's a caveat anyway.
So speaking of vests, I was actually going to say most people are probably going to have to ditch the vest for the zone 2 Murph. It's probably just going to be too much extra weight. It's probably going to be too restrictive on your breathing to help you keep your heart rate down. So most people are probably just going to have to ditch that altogether, which is fine. It's okay. And there are probably some people out there who think doing Murph without a vest is not real Murph, but don't listen to those people because they're crazy. They're nuts. You don't need that in your life. So I was going to say a nice, you could read a nice book while you're doing zone 2 Murph. Or do a podcast. But since Ashley said that, I'm actually going to throw out the challenge of no music or podcast or book or anything. Just you and the workout. Nothing in your ears to distract you from what's happening to you. Just stay in the moment and move through it. So that's going to be my challenge for zone 2 Murph. Jerred.
All right, my challenge, Ashley mentioned breathing, and that kind of goes in line with my challenge. I actually want everyone to pay attention to how to control your heart rate, and not just there's the reactive way to do this workout, which is you have a heart rate monitor on, maybe it's on your wrist, and you look and you're like, okay, I'm at zone 3, I'm going to stop moving and wait till you get to zone 2. And then after you're in zone 2 for a second or two, you start moving again, and then you just stop once you get into zone 3. That's a reactive way to do that. So I recommend trying some sort of breathing practice throughout the calisthenics. Running is what it is. Like, a lot of you might not even be able to run. It might just be a walk,
shuffle,
which I think is crazy. Okay, when I first programmed this, like, people thought it was like not possible, like not doable, and we've just done so much zone 2. I don't know what percentage of our athletes it would be, but most of our athletes are running. The ones who've been around for a long time, they are running on these miles. They are no longer walking. And when they first started with us, they didn't think that that would ever be possible. So you can make a lot of progress in zone 2. So that is what it is. But when you get to the calisthenics, I want you to really think about doing breathing, trying to lower your heart rate, because you can actually lower your heart rate, sitting there and concentrating on doing that, breathing. And every time, I don't think I've ever listened to music really while doing this one. I'm typically, I might during the run portion, but then I'd pop out the earbuds because I'm really trying to concentrate and focus on the fastest I can move with very intentional breath and keeping in zone 2. So it's like taking a test. It's hard to do. Like, I have to put a lot of me into it. I'm not just going through the motions and seeing what happens. So see what does it for you. How do you control your heart rate? And like Joe mentioned, once he goes horizontal for the push-ups, which makes sense because your circulation is going to be different at that point, his heart rate drops. Okay, try to work with that and moving at different paces. What are the paces that you can sustain to maintain the zone 2 heart rate? And you'll learn a lot about yourself as opposed to just going through, getting pissed off, seeing zone 3, trying to come back down to zone 2, getting pissed off, going back down. Like, that's how most people are going to tackle this workout the first couple of times, because you don't know how to control your heart rate. But once you get there, it'll be good. And I haven't done zone 2 Murph since we updated with the MAF zones. So
I was going to ask if you're going to do that.
I don't know, because it's not my benchmark. My benchmark is just traditional zone 2. I know if I do MAF zone 2 Murph, it might be fairly fast.
Faster.
Yeah, it might be in the 40s. I don't know, but that'd be awesome to try it out. I may try it. I mean, I can run fairly fast in MAF zone 2, but I don't know.
I love that your zone 2 would be in the 40s, and like that's what my normal Murph is.
I mean, it would be like 48, 49, probably something like that, where finishing zone 2 Murph when I've completed it has just been like at the top, like in the top 50s. So bumping my heart rate up 10 beats per minute should give me at least 5 or 10 minutes on the workout.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, we should tell them where to go to be a GJA. Yeah,
go to garagegymathlete.com. Again, Murph fundraisers, the biggest thing that we're doing right now, and more to come with that. But I will save that for when it's the beginning of a podcast next time. So go to garagegymathlete.com/Murph, or just go to garagegymathlete.com. You'll see the yellow banner at the top. I think that's the best way to get involved no matter what right now. If you do want to just jump straight into our training, get on one of the tracks, you can sign up for a 14-day free trial. If you want to submit to a good cause, have a donation, but also experience some of our training, then the Murph burner track is a great way to go as well. Because while it is a very specific track, specific goal, it's still our programming. It's still what we do. It's got body geometry in there, interval training, zone 2 work, all those good things. So that is the best place to get started right now at garagegymathlete.com. And for our community, thank you so much for being a part of the community, being awesome, donating money to the Murph burner track, and doing everything that we've done. I mean, I never thought that we would raise over $20,000 for something like this. So incredible. And so let's keep pushing it and see what we can do. That's it for this week. Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. If you want to learn more, go to garagegymathlete.com. You can learn about our training. Let us send you a copy of our book, The Garage Gym Athlete, or you can even get featured on the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Thanks for listening.